Thank you, Chair. It is important to recognise that this crisis will impact first and foremost on those who have been made vulnerable by our system, those who are already sick, those that do not have a safe home, those who do not have a home at all, those in direct provision or overcrowded traveller accommodation, those who are working in hospitals, providing essential care and cleaning services, those that are trying to protect and provide for their families in situations of economic precariousness and insecurity, particularly one-parent families. In his addressing to the nation on St Patrick's Day, the Taoiseach spoke of the need for some groups of people to cocoon, and I couldn't agree any more with this sentiment. Therefore, the role of our welfare state and our social protection system must be to wrap its arms around people when they are at their most vulnerable, and to protect them from the threats and the ravishness of homelessness, of joblessness, of ill health. The Taoiseach quoted from a British Prime Minister on Tuesday, and if I might be so bold as to quote from another, power has only one duty: to secure the social welfare of the people. This global pandemic has made it abundantly clear that those things we used to treasure, such as that of full employment, as we spoke of so many times in this chamber, can be taken away overnight. And what remains is scarcely enough to see our population through. We do not have a national health service based on need, or collective bargaining legislation to protect our workers, or security of tenure for our overstretched renters. And now that this is glaringly obvious, we must ensure that our social welfare system steps up. Because what we do have are some of the most remarkable people, the ordinary, everyday people of Ireland, the same people who yesterday volunteered to help the health service in its time of need. These people are our greatest asset, and we must protect and cocoon them all, at all costs. Through no fault of their own, it is estimated that up to 340,000 people will have lost their jobs. These people are our retail and our hospitality workers. They're our artists, they're our childcare professionals, they're our street traders. Losing a job has a crippling and terrifying impact on any family. This is doubly so in one-parent families. Our social welfare responses must put vulnerable groups at the centre of our planning. Our social welfare communications must be clear and in plain English, so worried families can understand clearly their entitlements. Just across the road, students in Trinity College lost their homes, and there are many more throughout this country that are experiencing the same situations. Families around Ireland are facing up to not seeing each other for weeks. At least 2 have lost loved ones because of this virus, and there are many more fighting this virus as we stand here. Our society has adapted to social distancing without a blink of an eye. In spite of previous differences, political or otherwise, we have all pulled together, and we know that together is the only way that we have come through this. But being in this together is more than just a cliche or a touching expression. What it means in policy terms is ensuring that workers who have lost their jobs have an adequate standard of living. It is a positive that this legislation will give effect to special welfare payments and advance income support for those who cannot work as a result of COVID-19, and that this includes self-employed people also. It is also positive to see the removal of the waiting period for payment of job seekers' benefits and job seekers' allowance in these circumstances. We must ensure that all financial barriers to self-isolation are removed, ensuring that people can put their health, and indeed the health of us all, first. It means that we ensure there is a positive duty in the state to provide for those they confine to isolation, to provide proper accommodation, access to support, food, the environment where possible, and to support those whose care and responsibilities were necessary. These laws are clearly necessarily control and sanction focused, but we must balance that with clarity regarding what the state will provide. As the Irish Congress of Civil Liberties have highlighted, it is crucial that detention provisions contained in the legislation are time limited, or that it includes a sunset clause which stipulates that once this emergency is over, it can no longer be used to interfere with rights. When we look to our closest neighbours in the UK and across the Atlantic to the US, it is very clear that the response of our government in Ireland has been calm, appropriate, prompt and with best scientific practice at its heart. However, it is also abundantly clear that the government must now follow this up with a ban on evictions. This has happened in the United Kingdom, it's happened in France and it's happened in the United States, and there is simply no reason why it cannot happen here. Property rights in our Constitution are balanced with the common good, and there can be no good more common than protecting against homelessness. It's over 140 years since Anna and Charles Parnell, Michael Davitt and the Land League. Our tenants still do not have security of tenure. To ensure immediate relief for renters, the rent supplement is the most appropriate mechanism which is administered by the Department of Social Protection. The process will have to be simplified along the lines of the job seekers application and the caps removed for both HAP and the rent supplement. Our healthcare staff have been inundated with praise over the past number of weeks, and deservedly so. They are our front line against this virus, and we must ensure that when this is over, we fight with them and for them for better paying conditions, as they now fight with and for us. 24,000 healthcare professionals have answered the HSE call. Our country owes them a debt of gratitude we may never be able to repay. I want to take this opportunity to add my endless thanks to the cleaners working on the front line, to the drivers keeping our supply chains open, to those retail workers ensuring our shelves are stacked with food, to our journalists and broadcasters ensuring we have timely access to factual information, to our Gardaí, to our firefighters, to our parents entertaining their children, to our schools and to our creches. To the families for whom this is a terrifying time, both for health and financial reasons. As we are extending our thanks, I'd like to go a little bit more broadly and acknowledge that Betty Williams, peace activist and Nobel laureate, died on Tuesday. I would like to record the deep thanks to the people of Ireland for her work and example. I am minded that Miss Williams cautioned that governments do not have the answers. Indeed, quite the reversal. A lot of times they not only do not have the answers, but they themselves are the problems. Let us show in the actions in this House that we have the solutions. Let it be said that at this time our politicians stood up, that we ensured that our response placed our people, our most precious and powerful resource, at the centre of their COVID-19 response.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you.